You know, young blood, I took care of your woman and your baby when you went to war. Now, a man ought to get a little respect for something like that. Now, I ain't gonna lie to you. I care about one of you. I care about a whole lot. But you back now. And I'm gone. So from this point on, you should consider me like a friend of the family. Find yourself in a jam and shit, need a little cash, you come see me. I'll front you. You keep your shit. Listen, brother. I know about pride, but you got mouths to feed. Now I laid a little cash on one leaf.
And man, stay the fuck away from my family.
What did you say?
You heard me, goddammit. I said stay the fuck away from my family.
See, I ain't the enemy, young blood. I don't want no trouble.
Welcome back to our Humble San Diego podcast. This is episode 260, Inner City Blues, and I am your host, Swan. This week marks the end of February 2022, and that can only mean one thing. Our man Chris PAWLAK is back in the studio, this time to chat about the Hughes Brothers' epic crime drama, Dead Presidents. What's up, man? How are you?
What's up, man? I'm good. Thank you for having me on. Talking about a movie that I think is severely underrated.
Definitely. Well, welcome back. Always appreciate your time.
Always like coming on.
So before we return to the mid-90s, let's talk up some of our usual intro segments.
And now for a special news report. Brought to you by Drop the Mic.
Starting with pop culture news. What do you have for us?
I have a handful of news stories for you that have come out in the last, 2-3 weeks or so. I don't think that you've touched on any of them.
Okay.
Stop me if you have.
Okay.
First one I have for you is that director David Lynch is set to appear in Steven Spielberg's next film, The Fabelmans. Currently set to be released for Thanksgiving. It stars Michelle Williams, Seth Rogen, and Paul Dano, and is loosely based on Spielberg's childhood growing up in Arizona.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, don't know who Lynch is specifically playing yet, but I think that's kind of cool. He only pops up every now and then in front of the camera, but he's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
When he pops up, he's great in Twin Peaks. He had a fairly prominent role in Twin Peaks, and he was. Did you ever see the arc that he had on Louis? He was like a late show producer.
No.
He was really good in that too. So I'm excited to see him, especially in a Spielberg movie. It's like such an odd pairing, but I'm down for it. This is a name that maybe some people know, maybe some people don't, but his legacy in film is huge. Special effects wizard Douglas Trumbull passed away earlier this month at the age of 79. He's behind some of the most groundbreaking effects on some classic sci-fi films, such as 2001, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Star Trek The Motion Picture, and Blade Runner. Let's see, the last film that he worked on, he was actually doing his own thing for a long time, and then kind of came back after a long period of not doing special effects work in movies, and his last film that he worked on was The Tree of Life. That whole beginning section of the film where it's kind of going through the history of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Or not the history of the world, but, with the beginning of early Earth and dinosaurs, he did all those effects. And he directed the Back to the Future ride. But he did the direction on what you're watching on the screen while you do the ride.
Okay.
So he was pretty famous for that, but I mean, man, like, that list of the movies that he did effects work for is incredible. Some of my favorite sci-fi films of all time on that list. So that's sad to hear that he passed away. And speaking of someone passing away, Ivan Reitman. I don't know if you guys talked about him on the show.
We did, but we can do it again.
I just want to shout out Dave. If you've never seen Dave, which is a movie that he did, I think in '92, with Kevin Kline and Sigourney Weaver. Ving Rhames is in it, Ben Kingsley, Frank Langella. It's great. It's about a guy who has a gig doing a lookalike for the president.
Mm-hmm.
Just showing up at, like, small town auto dealership owner or openings, and something happens with the president where they need to act like everything is okay still. I think he had a stroke, so they call in this guy to play the president so that no one knows that anything is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a good movie, and I think really kind of gets lost in the shuffle when you talk about Ivan Reitman's other movies. Ghostbusters obviously is probably his most famous legacy, but I mean, he did those movies with Schwarzenegger,
Mm-hmm.
where I don't think Schwarzenegger had really done comedies until he did Twins, and then he does Kindergarten Cop with them. Junior, which I'm not a huge fan of. Junior's definitely the weakest of those three.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. Stripes. Stripes is great if you've never seen Stripes. But want to shout out Dave. Give Dave a shot if you haven't seen that movie.
Did you ever check out one of his like more contemporary works, the No Strings Attached?
No, I've never seen No Strings Attached. I think the last movie I can remember from him was My Super Ex-Girlfriend, which even then, that's probably 15 or 16 years ago now.
With Uma Thurman?
Yeah.
He did that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Pretty much anything past the 90s isn't great. Evolution's okay, even though it's kind of like a Ghostbusters redux. I'd have to see what else he did past My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Or My Super Ex-Girlfriend, right? My Super Ex-Girlfriend. My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend's a TV show.
Yeah, it's My Super
Yeah, because she was a superhero. Let's see, what else do I have for you? I got lots of news because I've been saving it all up for a month for the show. Got a birthday to announce. John Williams, legendary film composer, turned 90 this month. Let's just shout out some of his greatest hits. Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, pretty much any Spielberg movie beyond a handful.
Mm-hmm.
He has scored. Jaws, which is incredible.
Home Alone,
exactly. He did at least the first 3 Harry Potter films. That main Harry Potter theme is John Williams, which I think still gets reused, or was reused for the later films, even though Williams wasn't scoring them. JFK, which is a really good score. A movie that I just recently saw called Black Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
He did the score for. Great score. Superman, iconic. And what was I just watching? Oh, Jurassic Park. Like, obviously, his work with Spielberg in the Star Wars universe is probably what he's going to have etched on his tombstone.
his legacy, yeah.
But just those classic Spielberg scores. And I was just rewatching Jurassic Park the other day, and the score for Jurassic Park is amazing. So, check out some of his music. Give him a tribute for his birthday.
90 years old.
90 years old. But someday he's going to be gone, and just think about the legacy that he's going to leave behind. Next up, one that's very close to my heart. Michael Mann, set to return to the director's chair for the first time in, 7-8 years now?
With Black Hat was his
Black
last
Hat
one.
was the last one. Not great, but that was 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Early 2015. That was probably a holdover from 2014, actually. Set to return in the director's chair for his long gestating passion project, Ferrari. Set to begin shooting in May, so fingers crossed. We'll see it at the holidays this year. Adam Driver is going to be Enzo Ferrari, and will co-star Penelope Cruz and Shailene Woodley. So I'm hoping it's out for the holidays and for the Oscar push at the end of this year. But I'm super excited to see Michael Mann back. I'm a huge Michael Mann fan, even though Black Hat wasn't great. But excited to see him get back to directing. He's one of those directors that I'll always go to the theater for and check out a movie of his. And it's like Fincher. I know Fincher just returned last year with Mank, but Fincher had a huge gap where he wasn't doing anything for 5, 6, 7 years. So look for Ferrari. Sometime soon, I hope. If it starts shooting in May, my hope is that it's out for the Christmas. But we'll see. Hopefully they don't dump it in like early January or February of next year. That's all my news before we pay tribute to our fallen friend.
Yeah, I have a few pieces for you. Okay. So it looks like director and composer John Carpenter is interested in returning for a possible sequel for The Thing.
Oh, cool. So he would direct, right?
Yes.
Because he hasn't directed a movie in quite a while.
Since probably The Ward, right? I think with Amber Heard.
Yeah, The Ward is his last film, and that was...
20...
Is that mid-2000s, or is that like 2012?
2012.
2012?
Yeah.
But even then, he hadn't made a movie since maybe Ghost of Mars before that.
Mm-hmm. It's exciting as long as it's done well. He didn't want to open up about... where he was thinking the story could go, which means that he probably does have something fleshed out. So it's interesting. Do you have any thoughts on the prequel that they did a few years back? Did you watch it?
I did watch it, and it's like kind of a reboot of the original thing, only this is a prequel. But it pretty much follows the same story beats.
But it's what happened at the other station,
yeah, at the Norwegian
right?
station. But it literally follows the same story beats. And the effects were CG, and that wasn't cool.
Yeah,
because the original has those, like...
The practical
stuff, yeah. Effects that look fucking amazing.
Even now. Yeah, I think if that prequel had one big sin, it's just that they didn't follow through with the effects. It probably would have had longer lasting legs had they done it that way. You know. But anyway, exciting.
Yeah.
I
also heard that he scored the new Firestarter.
Yeah, that's
film.
true. Yeah. Did you see that trailer yet?
I did see the trailer.
Thoughts?
I'll watch it. Firestarter, that's one of the more solid Stephen King books. I have seen the original. It's not great.
Drew Barrymore?
The Drew Barrymore one. It's not great. But I did like what I saw for the new one. I forget when that comes out. I don't know if that's like an early summer release.
Was the original like a made-for-TV movie, or was it a real?
Yeah,
theatrical?
it was a real theatrical film.
Oh. All right. Moving on. This week it appears Jamie Lee Curtis has already wrapped up her parts for this fall's Halloween Ends. Although we don't know anything about the plot of the story, we do know that this will likely be her last outing as Laurie Strode. Pretty cool stuff.
I hope Ends is better than Kills.
Yeah. Again. Say it for the people in the back.
Listen to the year-end show. You'll hear me bash on Halloween Kills.
So Uncharted was released last week and marks the first big budget action film this year, and it's faring well so far, pulling in about 44 mil in its first weekend.
That's more than I was going to give it credit for.
I mean, you got Wahlberg, who people go out to see, and you got Tom Holland, who's riding high on this Spider-Man stuff. So I'm really big into this video game franchise, but the video games are already so hyper cinematic that I was really iffy on whether they were going to be able to pull off something that's better than the video games, especially with the like the track record of adaptations for video games being really dog shit. But I've heard pretty decent things about this, that it follows along the lines of like a classic like Indiana Jones style film. I haven't seen it yet, but I'll give it a shot. In some more personal news, the Batman drops March 4th, so we will be putting together another giveaway to celebrate, featuring custom work from our own House of Shar, and this time Sandia Stitches also. So we're going to be having some custom Batman themed masks, and then I